ladies and gentlemen, please listen up very carefully. So we are in quarter two. These will be your first grades going in for quarter two. Today I have finished APGov's grades. I've put in all except I have a couple things in the box, so it's not official, but in 7th period it will be official. So what is going to happen as soon as during 7th period I sit down and put the final grades into Canvas? I will post a message on Canvas through announcements, and I will say my grades have been finalized. Then you are to go into quarter one just to make sure everything is good, and those are the grades that are going to be on your report card. Now, if some of you haven't taken a test, that needs to be done so we can get that in there. Only things in week 9 will I accept just because it's last week. Does that make sense? Hello? I am not rounding up. I'm not. Your grades are already super inflated because if you're sitting at 89 point whatever, the only reason you're at an 89 point whatever is because I put you at an 89 point whatever. Yes? Yeah, extra credit and all those other things. So I'm not bumping. Now, have any of my grades been finalized yet? No. So don't lose hope yet. But no, I'm not sitting here bumping grades up. My grade book is already incredibly inflated. So with that being said, I have not finalized grades. They will be finalized probably during 7th period. I'll send you a note. If there is an error, like Samantha did something wrong, I will fix it. You are not to be turning in assignments from forever ago because you need the final grade bump. That's not how things work. So with that being said, grades will finalize today during 7th period. I will send out an announcement as soon as I get the final stuff in the box, and then we'll kind of go from there. Everyone clear? Okay. So today we are starting week 10 content, which is, I think, super interesting. We've got a lot to do. Tomorrow we're doing boards and all that stuff. So on the top of your notes, write week 10. And this is what your title is this week. Political party, campaign, elections, and voting. Did you notice how they painted my walls? They didn't. Isn't that annoying? Isn't that annoying? Ugh, rage. So when are they going to do it? My walls have nothing on them, so am I supposed to put all the stuff back up? Rage. Okay. So the purpose of elections. This is from most important to least important. Here we go. The most important thing is it legitimizes a government, even authoritarian systems. Every country in the world has some sort of election. Even North Korea. They have elections. Isn't that funny? Do you think Kim Jong-un has ever received a negative vote? No, because if you vote no on anything, what happens to you and your whole family? Yeah, you're murdered. Okay? Xi Jinping in China right now. He votes. They just had their big congressional hearing in China. And what did they all continue to vote for? Xi Jinping unanimously continues to be president. No one dissented. Is that normal in a democracy? Putin has run for political office 3 cycles now and has never been opposed. Do you think everyone in Russia all has the same opinions? Yeah, that's a no-go. But the reason why they continue this facade of elections is to give their country legitimacy. See, the people voted for this. Okay? Now, in democracies are supposed to be messy because people are different, people have different opinions, and the United States right now is looking pretty messy. Can we agree? I will not tell you we're doing everything perfectly, but it is certainly messy. Organized government. Okay? Opinions change, things change. It allows us to recalculate our government. Okay? every once in a while, and this November 8th, which is the next midterm, it could be a radical shift in the House. No one knows what's going to happen in the House. Is it going to stay with the Democrats, or is it going to flip in a major way? It's a huge deal. The Senate is going to be won or lost by only a couple of seats. No one has an idea what the hell is going to happen with the House, and that is going to be fascinating. So the next agenda for the next 8 years here in the United States is being decided on November 8th, which is wild. And if you're thinking 8 years, that's pretty weird, Miss Bennett. Yeah, because the Senate gets locked in for how many years? 6? Okay, it's another 2 years before we have an election. That is how we get the 8, and we can all agree the Senate has huge amounts of power. Choose issues and policy priorities. We can already tell a major motivating force for the midterms is what, ladies and gentlemen? Hello, talk to me. You haven't done anything in this class in like 3 days. You can do it. Come on.
I don't know.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it better with the crooked glasses on. I'm just going to say.
I know, they're really sharp.
I know. Okay. The major issues bringing people to the polls on November 8th is going to be number 1 is the economy, ladies and gentlemen. And the Republicans have the strength of that one because it's easy to say Joe Biden's doing a bad job because he's in power. Can we agree? And whoever's in power gets blamed for everything. Okay? Same thing with Obama, Trump, all that stuff. Okay? So, the second major issue is abortion. So going forward, whatever party wins, what are the 2 things they're going to be tackling? Economy and abortion. Those are the 2 major focuses. And then electorate gives winners a mandate. If you say you're going to do something, you're supposed to do it. Okay? If you're going to run on a platform of, let's say, oh my God, loan forgiveness. Okay? Joe Biden just did a bunch of loan forgiveness, which actually was not particularly popular among most voters, but he did it because it was part of his mandate from winning the election was to do it. Okay? So, they cover a bunch of things. Now, I'm telling you right now, there are multiple questions on your test based on this one slide. Okay, so before the actual election. Hi!
Do we have any Bennett's tonight?
Oh my God, yes. I've had a bunch. And I will say there has been some loose interpretations of Samantha Bennett. I've had a bunch of boys show up with like twists in their hair.
Oh my gosh, I can't. I have to leave.
Oh, Anna? Yeah. She looks fabulous. She looks fabulous.
She's supposed to come.
I know. Oh, I saw her first thing. First thing. Cozy today.
Oh. She's so bipolar. Look at here.
She loves you.
Okay, but like she acts like she hates me.
That's how people show love. That's how I also show love.
I know, but it's just.
If you met my mother, it'd make perfect sense. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about actual elections, before you go to election, which is November 8th, you have to go through primaries, which are about a month and a half ago, or almost 2 months at this point. They're about 3 months ahead of the actual election. Okay? And there are 2 types of primaries. You have closed primaries and open primaries. Closed are for registered voters of a particular party. So, if you're a registered Republican, you can only vote for? Hello, talk to me besides just Anna. Thank you, I appreciate it, but I want to make sure other people are alive. So, if you have your voting card and it says registered Republican on a closed primary, you're only given a list of candidates who are. If you are a registered Democrat, when you show up to a closed primary, you only get a list of Democrats. You need to know the state of Florida is a closed primary. So when you show up, now, I don't give you a lot of political advice because I don't think it's my place, but in the state of Florida, I'm going to give you one piece of political advice. I would highly suggest, ladies and gentlemen, you pick a political party when you turn 18, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. If you do not choose a political party and you go independent, you don't get a say in primaries. Yeah, you don't get a say. There is an independent ballot, but it's kind of like, meh, meh, meh. Okay? I I would absolutely select whether Democrat or Republican. Now, if you pick Democrat or Republican because we're a closed primary, you only can vote for that party you have. So, but at least you have a say in the primaries. If you go independent, you don't have that choice. Now, not every state is. In Massachusetts, for instance, it's an open primary. Open primaries, independents, and often members of any party are all on the same ballot. So you're given a ballot that has both Democrats and Republican, and you can pick anyone. So closed, you can only vote for the party you already signed up for. Open means you can vote for everyone. Well,
So this is to like vote for who runs for president?
yes. So we had this primary about 2 months ago at this point, I guess. And in that primary for governor, we have DeSantis who won for the Republicans, which he didn't have any challengers because he's like super popular. And then on the Democratic side, we had 2 major people going against each other, and Charlie Crist won. So in November, on November 8th, we have Charlie Crist versus DeSantis. Now, who's winning in the polls? DeSantis, and he's about 10%. I think he's got it down to 8% at this point. But that's what the primary did. It took a couple of challengers of Democrats to figure out who was going against DeSantis. Pierce.
So Florida is a closed primary.
It is a closed primary. So, Pierce, if you do not pick a political party, you really don't have a say in the primary. Now, in Massachusetts, though, Pierce, if you're a registered voter in Massachusetts, you get both sides. So you could vote for a Democrat or a Republican on your primary. Now, in a regular election, like November 8th for the midterms, your ballots will have both Democrat and Republicans. It doesn't matter. It's only the primaries that are limited. Is everyone clear on that?
Is
Okay.
it different by state?
Yes.
That's their other-
Why is it different by state? I've taught you this. Ben, why is it different by state?
Because states have the right to determine
Their elections, yes. Granted by the Constitution, states have the right to control their elections, which is how they can decide if they're open or closed primaries.
Reserve powers.
Crushing it. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the weird stuff. When we get to like caucuses and stuff like that, that's the weird stuff that we'll kind of get into that makes it unique. Now, please listen. In an open primary, you have both nonpartisan primaries and crossover voting. So those 2 things, nonpartisan primary and crossover, only happen in open primaries. Make sure you know those only occur in open primaries, not enclosed, and they're not unique to themselves. Make sure you know that. So, a nonpartisan primary is voting without regard to party affiliation. People vote for the person. It's more people-centered. You may want to make a note of that. Nonpartisan primary is when people vote for the party, for the person, not the party. How many people do you think do this? A lot or very little? It's on the lower side, for sure. And then you have crossover voting. Voting in a primary for a different party than you are registered in. Funny thing is, this is on the rise, and it can only happen in, obviously, an open primary. People are crossing over. How elections are won, ladies and gentlemen, is by crossover voting and fighting over independence. Essentially, every state already knows how many Republicans are voting, how many Democrats are voting, and if everyone shows up to the polls, they can kind of guess where their numbers are, yeah? But it's the people who get into the polling suite, or where you actually fill in your ballot, and they're the ones standing there who do crossover voting, who switch parties. Like, for instance, I'm telling you, for myself personally, I vote by candidate, I don't vote by party. I have voted for both Republicans and Democrats, from the top tier, from president, all the way down to judges. I've gone back and forth, I do my research, I sit there with my little ballot, and I do my little research, and I mark it all up, and then I go in, you can't take the paper with you, but I go in, and I'm like, yeah, do. I'm a nerd. Okay? But that's how people really win, is the crossover vote. If you can get people from the other side to jump to your team, you're going to win every single time. And that's what people are fighting for right now, because we're coming up on election day. People from other teams to kind of join their side, and that's how elections are won. Okay, now primary election, ladies and gentlemen. You need to know that a primary is an election. So what is a primary? It is an election in which voters decide which of the candidates within a party will represent the party in a general election. It's literally up front, Andreas, in green. Isn't that nice? Okay, so the funny thing is, someone was asking me, well, why aren't you talking about 2024 that often? Do we know anything concrete about 2024 yet? Do we even know if Biden is officially running? No, he hasn't even officially declared, which isn't abnormal. I mean, it's weird for an incumbent not to declare, but it's really not uncommon because they typically wait till after the midterms to start running for president, right? Like we've talked about many times in this classroom. DeSantis looks like he's running for president. Can we agree? I mean, they're doing all the things to run for president. The only thing that's standing in his way is November 8th. If he loses re-election, he's not going to run. If he wins re-election, he's totally going to run. Yeah, he's totally going to run for president. And you typically don't declare your intentions for presidency until after the midterms, which means you have 2 years to run for president. Yes.
What is it?
A midterm is halfway between a presidential year. So we, as a country, vote every 2 years for all of our government positions. So every 2 years we vote for state representative. Every 4 years we vote for president, and that cycle fits well for senators. What do you got?
So say DeSantis wins. If he runs for president, he would have to give up his position.
Yeah, it'll go to a runoff where we, as the state of Florida, will vote who replaces him. But he'll get to appoint a stand-in, and then that person typically wins because people are like, he's already doing, or she, wouldn't it be nice, she's already doing the job. Are we okay? That was, yes.
It's Senate one president. Maybe the youngest.
Huh?
Would he be the youngest president?
DeSantis? How old is DeSantis?
I don't know. It seems old.
I don't know, Google it. How old is DeSantis? The youngest one is JFK. Yeah, he was like 35, 36, 37. Yeah, he's older. DeSantis is older. What do you got? Oh, so he's like the average age. Yeah, he wouldn't be.
Well, not average compared to
Oh, I know. I mean, Joe Biden and Trump are the 2 oldest presidents we've ever had, and here we are back to back. So, we can't get older, can we? Oh my God, imagine. What happens if you're, oh my God, that would be wild. Could we get older? What do you got, Scout? Oh, so he was only 43 when he became president?
Yeah.
Well,
Interesting.
it'd probably be another 4.
He was
2 more years.
inaugurated at 40.
But he wouldn't be the youngest, but he'd be flirting. Interesting. Sangus.
Theodore Roosevelt became president at 42.
Oh, okay. Theodore did? Teddy?
Yeah. It's the
Is he the youngest?
yeah.
I didn't know it was Teddy.
Roosevelt, 42.
Guys, hi. I teach APGov, and this is my first year, and you may be surprised, but I don't sit around and memorize presidential flashcards. A fun fact.
I just thought,
No, I
I don't know where I knew that from, but.
Hey, I'm not doubting that information. I'm telling you I cannot verify that information because I don't know. All right, here we go. So, another thing that you do need to know, primaries are also an election whereby the state legislator submits proposed legislation or state constitutional amendments to the voters for approval. So, sometimes, not all laws get passed by legislators. Some have to get the people's approval. And if they do, they come out every 2 years on the primary. This is how we got legalized marijuana, medical marijuana here in the state. They put it up for a amendment approval, and that's how we have it. And those are typically done on primaries. They're typically done on primaries because there's more room on the ballot. and saves on printing. One of the biggest crises, and I say crisis, for the 2022 midterms, which are coming up in 3 weeks, is we don't have enough paper to print off all the ballots necessary. It's like a huge problem. There's a bunch of articles about it and interviews with the people who are doing it. We don't have enough paper for the ballots. Is that a concern? Yeah, that's a huge deal. And more importantly, the ballots, the stickers.
Why don't they just do it
How are they gonna know
online,
we voted?
like an election?
That's what I'm saying, Adam. Who cares about actual voting? I want you to think I voted with my cool little sticker.
Just DIY everything.
Did you really vote if you don't have a sticker?
I like APGov WK.
That would be so sad. What's up?
How long does it take to like actually vote?
It depends on your polling place. Now here in Tampa, I've had a couple since I've moved around. I'm at a new place now because we just moved over this summer, and so I haven't been there yet. The place I was right by UT. In my place, I was there for like 8 years, and it's really fast. Some states make it easier, other states make it harder. Like in Georgia has one of the slowest voting processes, and some people it takes 6 hours to vote. Does that seem reasonable?
Is there a time limit?
No. Well, there is a time limit because the polls do close. They say if you're in line by a certain time, they'll let you vote, but that's why the results take so long coming in, because some places are faster than others. But it just kind of depends. Here in Tampa, from what I've seen, we do pretty well with voting. There are some new laws being implemented for this midterm, which are brand new, that DeSantis signed in about a year ago, which will go into place. So that could either slow things down or speed things up. So all of those things are a little more in flux. But it depends if you go during peak vote times, like at 5 o'clock, you're going to be standing in line because everyone's going to vote after work. In some countries, it is, and actually most countries, to be honest, they have voting days where they have the whole day off to go vote. It's like a big deal. And every 2 years, you have 1 day off, which would be November 8th, and you can go and vote. Here in the United States, we do not do that. We're like one of the very few democracies in the world that do not have that. Emily.
So for like the last bullet point,
Yeah.
an incumbent is a person that like holds office.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what we're going to get to. It's part of my slides coming up here. So, when an election in which voters can remove an incumbent from office prior to the next scheduled election, that's not very common, which is why I'm skipping it. Okay, presidential primaries. So this is going to happen in about 2 years. Nope, we have an election. This is going to happen in about a year from this November. There will be a primary. Okay, so in the presidential primary, it's winner takes all. So whoever wins the nomination gets the full backing of their party. We're talking about presidential, okay? So we're talking, in 2024, we don't know who's running for president and who's going to be selected by their party in the primaries. So let's go backwards a little bit. In the last election, it was Donald Trump versus Biden, okay? Biden got the full support of the Democratic Party. He didn't get full support. He had to beat out a lot of his peers in order to get the full support of the Democratic Party. Once he won the primaries for the Democrats, the whole Democratic Party threw their weight behind him. It's the same thing for the Republicans. Once Donald Trump beat the 16 people he was competing against in 2016, the whole Republican Party threw their weight behind him to get him into office. Now, when we're talking about presidential primaries, you have to know the word caucus. And caucus, let me get to the definition for you. Okay, caucus is, anyway, I'll just sheet it for you. A caucus is when members of a political party get together to choose a candidate, not using a ballot. So, are they actually voting in like check the box kind of thing? No. Okay, caucuses are really only done in Iowa and New Hampshire.
So not voting.
Not like voting, like check the box. Okay, so caucuses are pretty strange. Have you ever seen the New Hampshire caucus? It's the most bizarre thing. They have select members of political parties get together, and there's like 150 of them, and they all stand in a high school gym, and they put up candidates' names around the wall, and then they go stand in front of the candidate they like. I'm completely and utterly serious. And then there's like 15 candidates usually running for president, yes? So they start cutting off the least popular ones, and then everyone goes back to the middle, and then once they pull like the least 3 popular, then they're like, go pick another one. And then you can either just keep going to the same candidate, or you can go to a different candidate, and by the end of the night, everyone has decided on. It takes like 3 hours to do. I mean, that's the reason why New Hampshire keeps it. It's their traditional practice. And keep in mind, they didn't have ballots, and this is how people used to vote. So they do it to honor tradition, but it looks like a bunch of wackadoodles walking around like elementary school gym. And the fact that this is how democracy is being done in 2022 is also comical. Can we agree? Now, when other states talk about caucusing, it's just kind of collecting information from their party members and kind of going through. Lily?
How do they like pick the people who do it?
If you work for the party and are within the party, you get rankings.
When you work for it, like,
If you work for the Democratic Party, if you signed up to join and work for the Democratic Party, like doing canvassing for Charlie Crist, for instance, you would start at the bottom, and as you worked your way up, then you have more clout within the party, and then you get to vote on big things. What do you got, Anna?
So is the presidential primary like what they pick like the
Yeah, who's
final
going to
two?
run? Yeah.
Like
Yep.
only the 2.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about this next primary is that we do have an incumbent, or the person still in office, and who is our current incumbent presidentially? Joe Biden, obviously, because he is the, okay, he's only served 4 terms by the time he hits re-election, 4 terms, 4 years. He has a second term he could do. So, we're not sure if he's running or not. He hasn't officially declared if he's running or not, which is a little strange. It's not abnormal, but it's a little strange. With that being said, there will be presidential primaries. Is Joe Biden going to be primaried by someone in his own party? Which means a Democrat challenges Joe Biden to lead and try to win re-election. Because right now, Joe Biden is not particularly popular. Is that a good look when you get primaried by people in your own party?
No.
It's not a good look. So it's a really interesting kind of time, but not until after the midterms will these things start shaping up. Okay, National Convention, ladies and gentlemen. It is when the power of the party is now being pushed behind one candidate. So once the primary happens and one candidate has been selected from all of the Democrats or all of the Republicans running, then the National Party gets involved officially and will help push that person into winning the office. Because if a Democrat wins the president, then below the ticket, you're probably going to have a bunch of Democrats as well. Emily?
let me see the definition.
National Convention is after the primary. The National Convention will then put its power, aka money, behind the candidate to push them into office.
I thought it said out of what is out of power?
Out of power party, like all they can like do. It's just the term they use. Okay. Getting voters involved. That's your next subheading. Electorate. These are people who are eligible to vote. Is anyone else voting on November 8th? Oh, I'm the only member of the electorate.
I could.
According to the asymmetrical knowledge method, voting age in the United States is 18 years old.
I could.
You can't?
No, I can, but my thing says my voter card says no party affiliated because I did it when I was 15 getting my permit. So I'm not.
Well, you can vote now.
Oh.
Are you 18?
Yes.
And you have a voter card. Yeah, you can vote now.
This
Yeah.
is no party because I didn't know.
No, that's okay. You just can't vote in primaries. Yeah, and you can go in and change that. When you go in to vote on November 8th, and you can get your little sticker, hopefully go early so you get your little sticker.
I don't know which one. I could.
This is your literally first election. Vote! Why are you sitting in this class if you've already decided you're not going to vote?
I haven't decided. I just don't do politics. I told
then be the main character of your own story.
Alright,
Go vote, damn it.
alright.
You can vote in the actual elections, not primaries, because we're a closed primary state. But elections, everyone's on the ballot, so you can vote, even as an independent. Okay, so me and Anna are the only electorates. Of the electorates in the room, one's a definitive vote. Are you voting?
I can.
These answers are exhausting. Why aren't you officially excited to vote? How many other ways can you flex being 18?
Go to the strip club. I'm joking.
Have you been waiting this whole time to use that answer?
My cousins wanted me to.
Okay, Andrew, I think you don't understand where you're sitting and why that wouldn't be funny, but thank you for sharing, Andrew. Initiative, here we go. Okay, our citizens propose legislation and then they vote on it. Initiatives are ones that are created by citizens, then presented to government officials, and they're like, yeah, this is actually pretty reasonable, and they put on the ballot. So, Samantha Bennett has an initiative. Are you ready? There are 2 potholes immediately outside my Hyde Park house. A third one is now developing. And they're not potholes. They are craters. Like little Hanky could swim and drown in them. They're that big. The street is collapsing upon itself. And every day it gets deeper and deeper. And idiots, because it's Hyde Park, they park on both sides of the street. So you have to and there's this one big black truck that parks in front of my house, and I don't know who it is. And they have this stupid pickup hook. I hate them. And it's in my driveway. Yeah, yeah, you should start an initiative to get that filled with rocks. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, you should start an initiative. Initiative created by citizens in order to put something on the ballot. Then you have referendums, ladies and gentlemen. Referendums are becoming more and more popular. What do you got?
Wouldn't road work and stuff?
I know, Emily, but I'm passionate about this, Emily. Huh?
Wouldn't it be a local issue, not a
No, it would be my local Tampa issues. Okay, it's not a very good example, Emily, but I wanted you to know that there's a crater about to eat Hank at any time outside my house. Okay, and it's gonna go yum, 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 yum. And little Hanky is going to be eaten by it. So when I come to school and I'm like, ah man, Hank got eaten by a crater, now you know. Okay, a referendum is a state legislator submits proposed legislation to voters. AKA, the governor, typically in this case, the governor doesn't want to say yay or nay, because if they say yes, it's going to turn people against them. If they say no, it's going to turn people against them. So they put it on the ballot to be voted for. This is how we as Floridians got legalized marijuana. It was a referendum. Another local example of a referendum, on the primary, there was a referendum about giving Hillsborough County schools an increase of tax revenue to pay teachers more money. It got shut down, which I didn't vote for it either, honestly, because Hillsborough County needs to figure out their books before we keep handing them more cash. Can we agree? There's a lot of wasted money, and so I voted no. I know it goes against my own self-interest. I know, but there were bigger things at play, okay? Anyway, with that being said, a referendum is they don't want to be the bad guys, or they don't want to lose something, so they put it on the ballot and let the people decide. A recall is when voters seek to remove an elected official. If enough people hate you and sign a ballot and sign a petition, then you can go for a recall. They were pretty popular a couple years ago, but they haven't seen one in a while. An incumbent, ladies and gentlemen, is an official already in office. So who is the incumbent running for governor? DeSantis. Who is the incumbent president? Biden. So the people who are already in office. Okay, so electoral college, ladies and gentlemen, is your next subheading. Now, what document creates the Electoral College? Lucas.
Constitution.
The Constitution. So, the Electoral College is a big deal because it's literally created in the Constitution. To become President of the United States, you have to win 538 electoral, do they call them points? I don't know. Is it votes? Maybe votes. I can't remember. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm going to call them points. It sounds more like a game. Okay, so the Electoral College, you have to get 538 of them in order to become president. The goal line is for 537. 538 means you win it. So in 2016, when it was Trump versus Hillary Clinton, who won the Electoral College? Who won the popular vote? Hillary. Who became president? Trump. So, it is the Electoral College that actually selects the president. You have to know that.
So I don't need to vote.
Because we influence the Electoral College, and that's what we're going to talk about. What do you got, Lilith?
They need 538 to become president?
Yeah.
I thought there was only 538 total and you needed more than half of that.
You need 270.
You need 270. That's right. 270. Sorry, you need 270 to hit, and that's how you get it. There you go. I had that right earlier. Here we are. 270 to become president. 538 is the grand total. What do you got?
What happens if no one hits 270?
Then it goes to the House of Representatives. So, what is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen? The Electoral College, the biggest state, your Electoral College is based on population size. So, depending on the population density, gets you that many of the votes for the Electoral College. So, California has the largest because it has the largest. There you go. Rhode Island, Alaska has the smallest because it has the smallest population. They get one electoral vote. Okay? So, when we are talking about the Electoral College, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to know that the bigger states with a higher population get more attention from candidates. Why? Why, Pierce? Yeah, because if you can go to one state and get, 55, okay, versus, Indianapolis, Illinois, that only gives you like 17 points, you'd prefer the bigger number, of course. Now, when we are talking about the Electoral College, pretty much every candidate does go to every state. Why? Why, Emily?
So they can kind of like hit all the bases.
Yeah, because people aren't going to vote for you, and we all know that every vote counts at this point. Can we agree? And if a candidate doesn't show up to your state, you're probably not going to vote for them because it looks like they don't care. They even go to Alaska, okay? They usually show up to Anchorage for like 15 minutes and say, oh my God, Alaska, I love you. They get a picture in front of a moose and they say, bye. Okay, Lilith?
So like for California, out of the 55, are like 2 of them Senate and the rest House, is that what?
No. It's based on, okay, so how the voting actually goes. Okay, there are 2 options by the state. Under Electoral College, write down, states get to choose whether it's winner take all or divided. States get to choose if it's winner take all or divided. For instance, California is a winner take all state. So if Trump got 40% of the vote and Hillary got 60%, all 55 votes go to?
No. I meant like out of it's 55 people, right?
No, technically yes.
So are 2 of them from the Senate and the rest of them from the House? Because isn't that what?
No, because it's party members.
435?
It's party members. It's not always representative officials. Like the head of the Democratic Party of California is one of those 55.
Okay,
like-
and what's the 435 plus on the Senate? Is
Oh,
that House
it's there's a little bit more flexibility of it. There's a little bit more flexibility since it's not a hard pressed number. Okay, so when we're talking about the Electoral College, you need to know that some states are all or nothing. California is all. So if a candidate wins 51% or higher, they get all the votes of California. However, states like North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen, are based on percentage. So if Hillary won 60% of the votes and North Carolina has 10 votes, they get 6 votes. And Trump would have got the other 4. So they can break up their electors. Now when we say electoral college, it's actually people. These are actual people. They're not just like these weird numbers. They're actual people, and sometimes they do go against, but most of the time they kind of conform. Every once in a while you have a weird thing that pops up. Also, during presidential elections, you need to know that they implement their campaign strategies by focusing on larger competitive states because they want to spend their time doing the most effective campaigning. Okay? Now, you've all heard the term flyover states, yes? The Midwest. Those Midwest states have very low populations, which means that they have high electoral, low electoral. Low. So most of your candidates will go out there a couple times, so don't spend too much time out there because there's not a ton of electoral votes out there. Trump's strategy was totally different than Clinton's strategy. Clinton did your traditional hitting New York, California, which are traditionally blue states, and hit a lot of your big states and stuck there and did very little small states. Trump did the opposite. What did he do? He went to all the small states, spent a ton of time campaigning, and then spent the rest of his time in like 2 or 3 other states of the bigger electoral ones to compete. And who won? Trump, absolutely. So that game plan is what everyone's been using since. Okay, going to the smaller states a little bit more frequently and then kind of going. So it'll be interesting to see how the Republicans do on this batch. Now, party members meet to nominate a candidate for their office. They participate in a caucus, and this is what we've talked about before. They register their preference among candidates and push that person to the top. Okay, there's different ways to caucus. Most people are doing ballots at that point, but the caucus is when like people in New Hampshire stand in the gym and kind of go stand in one corner for a candidate and then go stand in another one, those types of things. Okay, so there are 3 different ways to nominate a candidate. First one is a caucus, closed meeting to pick a candidate, where they have all the electors in a room and they let them choose. It is not very popular. This is going from least to most popular. Your second way is by party convention. This is really popular in the 70s, 60s, and 50s. That the party convention, they would pick a candidate. Now, conventions are being held to push up a candidate. So like when Obama won his candidacy for the first time in 2007, at the 2008 National Convention for the Democrats, everyone knew this was to get Obama, like rally him up and push him so he could win the election in 2008. Or 2004, whenever his first run was. Okay? And then direct primary elections are the most commonly used, and those are actually casting a ballot for a primary. This is what we use in Florida. Okay, and that's what we're seeing. Okay, so most people go and actually elect a person on there. Okay, you need to know that by doing direct primaries, by voting, political party leaders have become less powerful. So by allowing more people to have a say in the process of choosing a candidate, people have become more popular. How much time do I have, Anna?
I thought you said political party leaders.
Two.
I have loose in the hold, yeah. Party officials have become, like party leaders, the Democratic Party have become less powerful. How much time do I have?
3 minutes, but
Okay.
why? Like, listen, why?
Because, think about it, if we get to go to a ballot box and pick, Anna or Aiden for our selection of the party, that's taken the power away from Lilith to choose between the two of you. Does that make sense? So it's given the people more power and the party less power, and that's the big difference.
We have 1 minute.
Perfect. Okay. I I'm gonna close out grades next period. I'll make an announcement. If there's an error, I'll happily change it. This is not an invitation to submit. If you are missing week 9 assignments, those need to be turned in ASAP because my grades are due on the 20th. But I'll be submitting on the 19th, which is what day? Today's what?
18. Today's the 18th.
Yeah. So I want to have pretty much everything done. Oh yeah. Adam, what is going on back